Welcome everybody to another episode of Kojay's Corner. Yo, we dropping 3 episodes in 1 week. Wow. Anyways, thank you so much for being here. This is a bit of spur of the moment, and thank you for checking out the replay then, because I think most of you will do that. I like to go live just in case. Anyways, I don't know. Helps editing and post stuff. But anyways, I'm rambling. Today we're gonna be doing a watch along, and you don't have to worry about the link. I'm gonna just show it here. I think it's okay and safe to do so. This is for knowledge and awareness, and there's a couple things I want to address before we go and watch this. First off, viewer discretion is advised. There's a part in the video where people are eating cake to look like human beings. And that's really weird, but it is part of the information that this thing is going to be going over with you today. This covers a lot of stuff that's true, with a lot of information and some testimonials, witnesses, and things that just have been out there for a while. In fact, this video we're going to see is from stopworldcontrol.com. Actually, I saw it on a different site. It was uploaded. My friend, she recommended I check out this video last week. So that's how long I've known about this video. This video came out in November 2023, though. From the looks of it, it looks like it did air, or it could air on TV in Europe, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just straight for the site, because there's a little fade in and fade outs that look great for a commercial break, if possible. But check out the site, stopworldcontrol.com. The link is in the description, and you can see more of the content they create. And I just want to share this with you all, just because with everything that's going on in the world, especially the stuff that I cover so passionately, there's like so much we have to do and we have to be aware of, that at this point, with how things are going, is very, very important that we are up to speed on. Now, a lot of this stuff can be looked at as let's see. Well, first thing is, like, when it's advertised or told to you, hey, this is the truth, this is a true story, this is this. Some people have this action to be apprehensive about it and who's telling the truth and what this truth is. And, I've done that too, or I still do that sometimes. And this is all stuff that I've been covering for a lot of years. And when we go into the realms of doubt or realms of conspiracy theory, I don't know why I say realms, but for example, conspiracy theories. I have a bunch of conspiracy theories, and a lot of them are dark, and some of them I dare not speak to say. And but with any conspiracy theory, you have to remember it is that. And at times, some conspiracy theories turn out to be true. And then we need to take action of what the right thing to do is from there. Now, there's other things that conspiracy theories are tied to that are true, and I believe that it is our responsibility to look at as many facts, as many true stories that we can identify with, or in the terms of understanding the reality of things. Now, I'm saying this because sometimes because I've come across a lot of conspiracy theories in my time, and especially on content creation on YouTube. The thing is, I see some conspiracy theorists go too far down a rabbit hole of darkness, and they lose sense of reality. It's because, like any theory, a theory is true when it's proven to be true. But until then, it's just a theory. And if you let theories consume you, I don't think there's any room for the reality of what's beautiful in the world, stuff that we should strive for and to take care of, maintain, embrace, and share. Because I like idea that the reality that we always have to keep learning, keep understanding what's going on around us, because a lot of powers like to do things that's wrong to maintain power and obtain power. And we've known this for history and what's going on with the world right now in our communities and such. So um what I've said to some conspiracy theorists, a few of them have been really, really stressed out about the stuff that they find out or think is true. And one of them asked me a long time ago, Kojay, what do we do with all these uh this what do you phrase it as? I guess all these cults and all this dark stuff around. And I told them right then and there, and I'll tell you now, the best thing we could do is be aware. Don't give such things such power. If you see something's folly, don't join it. Call it out. Stay true to our communities, our family. Pray to God and do good work. And take care of your neighbor. Love humanity. Stand up for humanity, because that's very, very important in everything we do. So I believe when we do good and not give uh, dark or evil factions power, then that's how we overcome them. But the problem is there's a lot of manipulation in what we believe is going on and misinformation. There's a lot of prejudice. There's a push for consumerism to fuel distractions in us and then take our money and all this kind of stuff. So I think it's important to understand what's really going on and what's in theory, and then be aware so you don't help give power to the wrong thing that results in corruption and deaths and abuse of other human beings. We really have to focus on being our own journalists, doing our own homework, and understanding what's really going on. So, case in point, you all know I'm very, very, very passionate about what's going on in Palestine. And it's very, very wrong. Yet there's this strong, strong narrative war going on top of genocide going on. And so many people who know what's up and got caught up are trying to stop it and are aware. A lot of people are comfortable not knowing enough information, or they let their prejudice decide. Back to what I was talking about, the conspiracy theorists. When I The problem with conspiracy theorists that go too far, they eventually turn into bullies, because it turns into I'm right, you're wrong, or I'm judging people on the crazy stuff I've learned. Um, I've known a lot of these things for a while, and as far as conspiracy theories, including my own, as I just said, but a problem I noticed with some conspiracy theorists, in my experience, has been that they use conspiracy theory to fuel a prejudice agenda on other human beings. Like a few of them I've come across, I thought were really good human beings and cared more about knowledge and truth. Yet I found out that they use conspiracy theories to fuel their xenophobic agendas and just hate this group, that group, or hate Asian people or whatever. And I was shocked to find that when they did do slander, that they would manipulate truths, tell lies, half stories, a little bit of the truth, and then add a different story on top. So I find it kind of hypocritical to see these conspiracy theorists I thought were friends to use their knowledge to manipulate something, to slander someone just because they didn't believe what they believed, or they couldn't control me. And so they just had to slander me. And it's interesting, some of them actually believed in hate as a resourceful source to get things done. You could fight injustice and uphold truth without hatred. It's called discipline and positive action and doing what's right. You don't need hatred to do any of that. So, another thing I said to these conspiracy theorists is to chill out and wait for evidence, factual things going on, and then jump and call it out and try and stop things that are bad. And awareness will help us prevent fueling things that are bad. So, one thing I always believed and said is that you will know when something bad is true, when great powers are in action and they move, and you see the destruction that is caused by it. What's happening right now in Gaza is evidence of so many conspiracy theories or uh, tied to factual information that has been out there forever, but shrouded away because the popular media, entertainment, and news media is the same as entertainment. They all make the same money off of commercial revenue. There's no difference from them. I mean, a lot of people say wrestling's fake because it's not, it's a work of fiction with sports and athletics mixed in. But what's really fake is the perception of something real or news, but it's just a TV show, just to get you to see commercials and to get you sold on an idea that they're selling, because they're not telling the truth, full story. They're not telling the truth. And they're making money off of it. And they use other entertainment to fuel that. So that being said, I really enjoyed this video, which is why we're going to enjoy it together. It encompasses a lot of things I've been talking about for a while. And now that things are in motion and you see a lot of devastation over in Palestine and slaughter on a huge epic level. I think it was only in 2018 that Israel killed 31,000 Palestinians, civilians. And every other year they've done a lot of other slaughtering and such, but you know the story. And if you don't, you gotta watch my content, do your own homework and research. So that being said, I do want to highlight that there's some disturbing images of people eating cake that look like people in one section, and there's also going to be footage of war and destruction on civilians areas. So definitely mature audiences is required and advised for this. This is also why I don't want to do it on Twitter or Twitch, because I think only on YouTube I could do that 18 and over thing. So with that being said, let's get into it, and you'll see it right here. You don't have to go to any link or all that, and then we'll have a little discussion afterwards, and that'll be the show. And yeah, so that being said, this is from stopworldcontrol.com, and this is the mystery of Israel solved. And it's about an hour long, so we'll chill for a bit, enjoy it together, and I'll have a little discussion afterwards. And let me know what you think after the show if you're watching the replay in the comments, any thoughts and expressions, and we will go from there. So yeah, here we go. And
I am David Sorensen from StopWorldControl.com. In this video, I present to you truths and realities that are extremely difficult to comprehend. Information that will shock us to the core, because it challenges everything we believe. It turns our world upside down, and it reveals something so evil that it is almost incomprehensible. Yet it is the truth. If we want this world to become a better place, then we cannot afford to deny obvious realities. We must have the courage and the sincerity to face truth. I invite you to have this courage and sincerity when you watch this video. It will be difficult. It will be very challenging. But it will also expose something extremely nefarious in this world that every human being needs to be aware of. Several former members of the Israeli Defense Force have come forth because they are extremely concerned about what is going on in Israel. They testify how the military in Israel is the most advanced high-tech army in the entire world. They also reveal how the borders between Israel and Gaza are the most heavily secured borders anywhere on earth. High-tech sensors alert the Israeli Defense Force from the moment that even a small animal approaches the borders. Yet, hundreds of Hamas fighters were not only able to approach the border, but they blew up the fences. They entered Israeli territory and started destroying homes and burning down villages and killing Israeli people without any semblance of defense by the Israeli military. Turns out that shortly before this attack, the government had ordered the removal of all military presence from that area. Hamas was literally given a free pass to enter and start their operation. In the next videos, you will hear former members of the Israeli Defense Force explain that something very, very, very concerning is going on in Israel.
שתפו את הסרטון הזה כמה שיותר, כי תקשיבו רגע, אני שירתתי כסמב"צית חי"ר במהלך מלחמת צוק איתן, אני שירתתי באוגדת עזה, כל השירות שלי היה תומכת לחימה בזמן מלחמת צוק איתן שעזה הייתה באוגדת עזה. תקשיבו לי ותקשיבו לי טוב, אין מצב בעולם שיכולה להיות כזאת התקרבות לגדר, אוקיי? מבלי שאנחנו לא נדע מזה. התצפיתניות יושבות בבונקרים 4 שעות, הן לא יכולות לעשות ככה, הן מול מסך. לא יכול להיות מצב, שום מצב, שהיו מעירים אותי בלילה על יונה, על חסידה שהתקרבה לגדר, על מקק שעבר מתחת לגדר, היו מקפיצים את כל הגזרה. איך נכנסו עם טרקטורים, 400 איש ואף אחד לא שם לב.
October 7th, 2023. This is Efrat Fenigzon and I'm here to share an update from Israel-Hamas war, which started this morning. Apparently, Israeli defense forces that were supposed to be around Gaza were placed around the West Bank because of security concerns, so that the Gaza envelope was left unoccupied with military. They say around 60 to 80% of that area was left without the IDF forces that were supposed to be there. A year ago, there was a military operation in Gaza to prepare for such events, and ongoingly there are trainings for these kind of scenarios. This raises serious questions for me anyway about Israeli intelligence. What happened? 2 years ago, there was a successful deployment of underground barriers with sensors to alert exactly on these kind of terrorist breaches. Israel has one of the most advanced and high-tech armies. How come there was zero response to the border and fence breaching? I cannot understand that. Personally, I served in the IDF 25 years ago in the intelligence forces. There's no way, in my view, that Israel did not know of what's coming. A cat moving alongside the fence is triggering all forces. So what happened to the strongest army in the world? How come border crossings were wide open? Something is very wrong here. Something is very strange. This chain of events is very unusual and not typical for the Israeli defense system. The current government is highly corrupt in my view, while the previous one was no better. I don't care about having a popular opinion. I care about exposing evil forces wherever and whomever they are. So to me, this surprise attack seems like a planned operation on all fronts. If I was a conspiracy theorist, I would say that this feels like the work of the deep state. It feels like the people of Israel and the people of Palestine have been sold once again to the higher powers that be. At the same time, this is still very, very difficult to fathom.
How come the strongest army, the strongest intelligence, the most sophisticated intelligence in the world, in Israel, makes it possible for few hundred Hamas fighters to enter Israel and make all of this happen, while in that area, the Hamas fighters did not meet Israeli army or any defense or any protection or anything, as if the Israeli government was planning to offer the Hamas fighters this whole area on a silver plate. This, is not logical. Israel has the most sophisticated intelligence, has a strong army, the strongest in the Middle East, and allow something like this. So there is more behind it. Israel has sacrificed its own people, sacrificed the civilians on the borders of Gaza, took away the protection, took away the army, and allowed Hamas to do what they did.
The following footage was released by Hamas. Here we can see them place explosives on the fences that are extremely heavily secured with high tech, but not a sign of Israeli response. They blow up the fences on several places. Here you have an aerial view of how they are breaking through and destroying the infrastructure. We can even see how they are literally entering onto Israeli territory with their vehicles full of armed soldiers. And not a single attempt of the Israeli Defense Force to stop them in any way. They literally received a free pass to enter into Israel. They can even drive on the roads of Israel. This is another video released by Hamas showing how they are able to blow up the security fences and enter Israel unhindered. We have to understand that this is not some massive army invading Israel. It's basically a low number of terrorists. The incredible, powerful military of Israel could have stopped them in a breeze, but they didn't. So what is really going on here? Why was there no response from the Israeli Defense Force when armed soldiers from Hamas entered Israeli territory, even blowing up the fences and going deep into Israel and starting to burn down villages and kill people and kidnap people? Why was the Israeli military removed from that whole area right before this attack? Why was the mainstream news media instructed not to be honest to the public? And why did they wait for 12 hours to inform Israel? There is clearly something very, very nefarious going on here, a criminal operation at government level of the worst kind. The question is, what is their agenda? What is the purpose? I believe that the answer is given by this letter that was sent by the government coalition in Israel to Prime Minister Netanyahu. It shows that they demand an immediate invasion into Gaza and a complete seizing of control of that whole area that belonged for the past decades to the Palestinian people. And indeed, we see that immediately Israel responds and does something that they have been wanting to do for decades. A complete all-out attack on Gaza, where 2.5 million innocent Palestinian people live. Families like you and me, mommies, daddies, children, grandfathers, grandmothers, just beautiful people. They are being bombarded. They're being murdered en masse. This is homicide of the worst kind. And this invasion by Hamas is the perfect excuse to accomplish this.
بس المربع كله المربع اللي قالوا يخلوه ضربوه.
What every person in the world should know is that more than half of the 2.3 million people in Gaza are children younger than the age of 15. This means that Israel is now bombing more than 1 million young children.
دمار شامل وواسع في هذا المكان. عشرات الصواريخ تقريبا 50 غارة كانت فجر اليوم على هذا المكان على بيوت المواطنين. موطني ذا الهباء. اسحب شهيد اللي عاش في قلب المخيم ننقل لكم الصورة من قلب مخيم جبالة. نحن الآن في الإسراف تحديدا شهداء بالعشرات وجرحى. هذا هو ما يحدث الآن في غزة في مخيم جبالة تحديدا. هذا سوبر ماركت رابعة سابقا.
The destruction that is being unleashed on 2.5 million families, mummies, daddies, children, grandfathers, grandmothers, uncles, nieces. I use these words to get my point through. These are people who live there in Gaza, and now Israel is wiping them out. They are destroying thousands and thousands of families under the excuse of a Hamas attack. On top of that, Israel cut off all water, power, gas and food from these 2.5 million people. Here we can see utter darkness in the entire Gaza area. Hundreds of thousands of families have no drinking water, have no electricity, no gas and no food. What is really disturbing is that less than 2 weeks before Israel launched their attack on Gaza with the purpose of permanently eliminating it, Netanyahu showed a map during the General Assembly at the United Nations. This map is called the New Middle East. When you look at Israel, then the Palestinian regions have been completely removed. There is no sign anymore of any Palestinian presence on the map of the New Middle East that Netanyahu showed less than 2 weeks before they launched their attack on Gaza. With every false flag operation, it is always the same principle. Some entity wants to commit a horrendous crime, but they don't want to be blamed for it. So they have to use another entity to shift the blame to. In this case, it is very clear. They use Hamas. Hamas is supposedly the bad actor here. And all Israel does supposedly is defend itself. So now they have the right to do something which they have wanted to do for decades. Completely eradicate the whole Gaza Strip and commit horrendous homicide on the Palestinian people. The next question we then have is, why would Hamas cooperate with Israel? In the next clip, we probably find the answer. US Senator Ron Paul exclaimed in the US government that Hamas is actually an organization that is set up by Israel, financed by Israel, to work for Israel.
You know, Hamas, if you look at the history, you'll find out that Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel because they wanted Hamas to counteract Yasser Arafat.
What Senator Ron Paul said is confirmed by a man called Ronald Bernard. He worked at a high level in the so-called financial elites, the most wealthy and most powerful in this world, who control the world theater behind the scenes. He explains how terrorist organizations are essentially funded by the same sources that also fund the organizations that supposedly fight those terrorists.
Which is not surprising, considering they are involved in the flows of money. Those are your clients. You also have governments to deal with, multinationals. You have to deal with secret services, and what they now call terrorist organizations. You get all of the groups that are involved with the big money as clients. Then you start seeing the connections, so they might be compartmentalized as you just mentioned, regarding knowledge. But because I am in the middle, I see how they relate to another. You see the money coming from this place, then going to that place, etc. You keep gaining information and thereby an overview of what is really going on.
So do you have to serve and keep all of those groups happy, including terrorist organizations? You were trying to keep everybody happy?
Yes.
My God.
That was my job.
Keeping all the balls in the air.
Yes, indeed. So one of the things that I found out, I did not know that before, but now I do, is about secret services. You think they are there to serve and protect a people, country, etc., but they actually turn out to be the criminal organizations, to be more precise. The system is heavily so. We are talking about financing wars, creating wars, so basically creating a lot of misery in this world. So, lots of conflict. And then I think to myself, if only people knew what the world is really like. Secret services will stop at nothing. Nothing. But they also have their flows of money, because if they are trading in drugs or weapons or, for that matter, people, all that money has to go somewhere. Everything has to be financed.
You say, but you could confirm they are doing this?
All of them? All of them?
You can view the full interview with Ronald Bernard on the website stopworldcontrol.com/Bernard. He explains much more about what's really going on in our world, behind the scenes of the puppet theater that is put up for the public. Because it is a puppet theater indeed.
This surprise attack seems like a planned operation on all fronts.
אין מצב בעולם שיכולה להיות כזאת התקרבות לגדר, אוקיי? מבלי שאנחנו לא נדע מזה.
Israel has sacrificed its own people, sacrificed the civilians on the borders of Gaza.
Since they started their invasion of the land of Palestine more than 80 years ago, several hundreds of thousands of people have been murdered by the Israeli forces. And as you can see on this map, they have gradually been stealing all their land, their farms, their vineyards, their homes, all their possessions. And then ultimately they locked up these people in Gaza, which is the largest open air prison in the world, with the highest suicide rate in the world, because life is so unbearable there. There is something very important that we all need to realize concerning Hamas. Hamas was created so that Israel could play victim. Israel is the actual aggressor who invaded a peaceful region, murdered hundreds of thousands of people, stole all their land, their homes, their farms, their vineyards, all their possessions, and locked them up in open-air prisons and in areas where these people are terrorized every day of their life. Still, a majority of humanity looks at Israel as if they are the victims. That is the success of Hamas. And this is how psychological operations work that are run by intelligence agencies to manipulate mankind. Here you see footage from Palestinian people before the invasion by the Zionists. These are no terrorists. These are no dangerous people. These are just happy families, just like you and me. A former soldier from the Israeli Defense Force explains how they literally terrorized these millions of people on a daily basis.
What most haunts you and your conscience about what you did in your time as a soldier?
For me, it's the routine way we control the Palestinians, right? A Palestinian can wake up in the morning and not know if he will be at work on time, go to sleep, not know if soldiers will invade his home. We basically control the most simple and basic elements of life.
It's designed to break down the population of Palestinians and show them who's in charge and humiliate them on a daily basis.
Exactly. How can we make 2.5 million Palestinians in the West Bank to feel that they cannot lift their head up? We will make them understand that we control their lives. The segregated roads and the settlements and so forth, they exist all around the occupied territories. Military activity, home invasions, patrols, digital surveillance, they exist here and they exist all over the West Bank. The difference in Hebron is that in a very short walk, we can see examples of all of it.
All of it.
All of
we
it.
saw all of it.
The United Nations says that 251 Israelis lost their life compared to 5,590 Palestinians that were killed between 2008 and 2020. A member of the European Parliament from Ireland, however, says that the numbers are much higher.
More than 150,000 Palestinian civilians have been killed or injured in Gaza and the West Bank since 2008. 33,000 of those were children.
But what is truly behind the invasion of the land of Palestine and the stealing of the land of millions of people and murdering and torturing them? What is the deeper agenda behind all of this? We find the answer when we look at the entities who are behind the establishing of the State of Israel. It is the family of the Rothschilds. On their own official website, they brag how they are the ones who financed the rebuilding of Israel. They are the ones who made Israel possible. So who are the Rothschilds? And why did they spend billions of dollars to invest in the building of a new political and military state of Israel? The Rothschilds are amongst the most wealthy people in the world. Their fortune is estimated to be several trillions of dollars. That is several thousands of billions of dollars. That makes them basically the most powerful people in the whole financial and banking system of this world. They operate, for example, from within the city of London, not to be confused with London City. London City is the city that we all know. It is London, where people live and where tourists visit. The city of London, however, is a small area of 1 square mile within the heart of London City. The city of London is the financial center of the entire world. And there is something highly significant about the city of London. This small area of 1 square mile is a sovereign state. It is not subject to the laws of England, nor the United Kingdom, nor the royal family. On the contrary, the city of London actually rules supreme over them. The city of London is the continuation of what we all know as the British Empire. The British Empire attempted to gain world domination. They still essentially own a vast portion of the world, like Australia, Canada, New Zealand, several African nations, and many more. The City of London is the headquarters of all the big banks in this world, as well as the headquarters of Freemasonry. The crest, or the coat of arms of the City of London, shows 2 dragons, and then the helmet of a knight with a wing of a dragon. The Latin creed, translated into English, means Lord guide us. So they show dragons and they say, Lord guide us. The dragon in mythology, but also in spirituality, for example, in the Holy Scriptures, represents the personification of evil that wants to deceive and rule over all of humanity. The ancient dragon is the symbol of Satan or the devil. It is significant that the city of London is surrounded by 14 statues of a dragon. So the dragon is the #1 symbol within the city of London. This brings us to another element of the Rothschilds. They are known for their involvement in a religion called Luciferianism or Satanism. Baroness Philippine de Rothschild often wore jewelry that depicts the symbol of Satanism, a horned goat. She even had jewels that simply showed the head of Satan. On this picture we can see Baron Jacob Rothschild posing in front of a famous painting called Satan Calls His Armies Forth from Hell. He poses alongside one of their favorite artists, Marina Abramovich. This lady organizes very strange parties for the elites. Here you see some images of these parties that are called spirit cooking. They basically celebrate the practice of human sacrifice and cannibalism. In the next video you can see a spirit cooking dinner organized by Marina Abramovich, one of the favorite artists of the Rothschilds, who founded the State of Israel. I need to warn you, what you're about to see is extremely graphic and complicit and deeply disturbing. On December 2, 1972, Marie-Hélène de Rothschild organized a surrealist ball at the Château de Ferrières in France, one of their castles. These are some images from their party. It again celebrates human sacrifice, which is at the heart of Satanism. Here you can see more art from Abramovich, a good friend of the Rothschilds. She celebrates all the symbolism of Satanism, the snake, the devil's horns, even child abuse. In 2017, the Rothschilds chose an artist from among thousands of artists in our world to decorate their sailing boat during the Lascaux project. from all the existing artists in our world, they handpicked one particular man, Cleo Peterson. Here you can see some of his art. It always shows dark entities that are torturing white figures. Always darkness torturing the light, evil ruling over good. He shows scenes of violent rape, violent murder, violent slavery, and violent suppression. It is highly significant that the Rothschilds picked this artist to decorate their sailing boat. At the beginning of this video, I warned you that this would be extremely disturbing information. And I'm sure that most people are not aware that Israel was founded by blatant Satanists. But this brings us back to the original question. Why did they invade Palestine? Why did they erect the state of Israel? Everyone who is informed knows that there has always been an agenda for world domination all throughout world history. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is one of the most basic realities of human history. There has been one world empire after the other. And for some weird reason, there are many people in our time who dismiss the reality of an agenda for world domination, which is dazzling. It's almost insane to think that there would no longer be an agenda for world domination in our time, because this has always been the red line all throughout human history. The only question is, who are the people today that aim for world domination? Well, there is, for example, the World Economic Forum, who make it very clear on their own website that they are striving for global governance. They want to control the whole world. They also strive for internet governance and corporate governance. They want to establish governance over every aspect of human society. So here you have it. It is out in the open. Well, the Rothschilds are among the families who are behind the World Economic Forum, which is basically a public entity that is backed up by the City of London and by these high-level financial elites. Now, in the past decades, there have been extremely disturbing revelations about what's going on within these financial elites. The main theme that has been exposed by innumerable insiders, and I mean surviving victims or eyewitnesses or former employees, and even former directors of the FBI and the CIA, and former police officers and detectives and commanders from the military, and former agents and officers from intelligence services. All of these people have been revealing one same horrific reality. They have been exposing to our world how there is an organized system of child abuse and child trafficking and even child torture and child ritual sacrifice that is happening within these financial elites. There is, for example, the whistleblower Ronald Bernard. He was operating at the highest level within these financial circles, and he was moving trillions of dollars. He exposed how at the very highest level of these financial elites, there is indeed this religion called Luciferianism. And he joined into their satanic masses for a while because there was a lot of fun. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, you could say. But then he was invited to partake into the ritual of child sacrifice. And he was promised that if he would join into that, he would receive unimaginable financial opportunities. He would become wealthier than his wildest dreams. Here is a short clip from the testimony of Ronald Bernard.
But then at some point, I was invited, which is why I'm telling you all this, to participate in sacrifices abroad. That was the breaking point. Children.
You were asked to do that?
Yes. And I couldn't do that.
Would you like to stop for a moment, by the way?
No. And then I started to slowly break down. I lived through quite a lot as a child myself, and this really touched me deeply. Everything changed. But that is the world I found myself in.
What Ronald Bernard has revealed to our world is confirmed by an incredible large number of other whistleblowers. I am personally in touch with several people who came out of these elites, and all of them say the same thing. And this brings us back to Israel. This brings us back to what is really going on in the Middle East. All these people who came forth from these financial elites testify that their ultimate goal is to set up a one world government, global governance, and they want the headquarters to be in Jerusalem. And this has an ancient spiritual reason. I won't go into that right now, but we have to understand that everything has a background. But they specifically want Jerusalem to be their headquarters. Now, for many Christians, this will be extremely shocking to hear, and I totally understand that, but I ask you to hear me out. Everything I present here is solid evidence. It can be researched by anyone, and all the facts are available for every person who has the courage to look at these facts. So why is nobody aware of this? Why is the entire Christian community worldwide, which consists of roughly 2 billion people, why do they support the state of Israel blindly? Let us go back into history a little bit. For many centuries, Palestine was a very peaceful region where Muslims, Jews, and Christians lived in harmony with one another. There was no hatred, there was no war. This is something unnatural that is created by higher powers in politics and in the financial world. But these people had no issue with one another whatsoever. It's only when the Rothschilds started investing into establishing this state that hatred was artificially incited between different people groups. So after centuries of living happily in peace and in harmony, suddenly there was this invasion by forces that are called Zionists or Zionism. Zionism is indeed the philosophy or the movement of people who want to establish a new Israel as the center of a one world government. In order to accomplish their goal, they, however, had to do one very important thing. They needed the support of the worldwide Christian community. They needed the churches on their side. So in the 19th century, before Israel was founded, the Rothschilds worked closely with several people in Christianity. They attracted a man called Cyrus Scofield. He was a convicted criminal lawyer, an expert in fraud and forgery. He was asked to create a new Bible, the Scofield Study Bible. This was the first Bible in all of history to contain hundreds of footnotes. In these footnotes, a new doctrine was introduced into the American Evangelical Church, which says that there was to come a new political military Israel, and that would be the place where the Messiah would come to rule the world. And they said that would be the fulfillment of the promise that God had made to Abraham, and that would also be the fulfillment of the promise that Christ would return to earth. This Bible was then spread all throughout America through the Moody Bible Institute, and it became the foundation for the current day evangelical theology. Nobody was aware that this Bible was directly funded by Satanists and that it served the agenda to get Christianity on their side for establishing a new Israel that would become the headquarters of their one world government. And again, I know that all this sounds outrageous to many people who have never heard this before, but you can research this. And I encourage you to do your due diligence. I've studied this for decades and I know what I'm talking about, but it's very difficult sometimes when you talk to people who are not informed, who have simply accepted a certain mindset, who have blindly believed that, and who repeat it to everybody else without ever doing their research. But all this is historical fact. The Scofield Study Bible was published by the Oxford University Press, which was owned by the Rothschilds. And this whole theology was first written out by John Darby, whose family owned the most haunted castle in the world. Libre Castle, where 150 dead bodies were found in the cellars and where satanic masses were held. John Darby used all kinds of occult terms in his religious writings. He was involved in many secret societies and occult groups. And he is the one who educated Cyrus Scofield. But John Darby was an employee of the Rothschilds. He worked for the East India Company. The Scofield Study Bible literally said that everyone who supported this new Israel would be blessed by God, and everyone who did not support it would be cursed by God. So fear and intimidation was used to force Christians to be on their side, and they succeeded. In our time, the vast majority of Christianity believes thoroughly that this new political military state of Israel is indeed the fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham. But they haven't got the slightest clue what's really going on here. The whole violent invasion into the land of Palestine, where Muslims and Christians and Jews had been living peacefully together for thousands of years, is based on a misunderstanding of the promise that God made to Abraham in the Old Testament. God told Abraham that he would receive land, that a great people would come forth from him. But one of the experts of the Jewish religion, who later became the Apostle Paul, wrote to the Jews in his time, who were called the Hebrews, that Abraham essentially was not promised and was not looking for a stretch of desert. He was looking for a heavenly land built by the hand of God, something far more beautiful, far more profound, far more glorious. This was confirmed by Jesus Christ, who was the Messiah and who came to fulfill all the promises of God to Abraham and to his descendants. But he surprised everybody by saying, "My kingdom is not of this world." He said, "My kingdom is not visible with the human eye. My kingdom," he said, "doesn't work with weapons. It doesn't wage war." He said, "My kingdom is not on a geographical location on earth." He said, "My kingdom is a heavenly realm. And you can only see it through the Spirit of God. You can only enter it when you are born from above by the Spirit." And he said, "My kingdom is among you. It is inside of you." So God is not interested in a political military nation that wages war and kills people. Jesus Christ is called the Prince of Peace. He's the one who removes all hatred and violence between people and who makes people brothers. That's why in the New Testament it says, in Christ there is neither Jew nor Gentile. There is no more hostility or division. There is one new man, one new creation in Christ. Those who accept Christ, they are the ones who can enter into this kingdom of God. It has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with military warfare. It has nothing to do with hatred between one people group and another people group. That is in fact the exact opposite of this. But we've all been told something entirely different. We've been told by the Rothschilds through the C.I. Scofield Study Bible, which has spread all around the world and which was unquestioningly accepted by all of Christianity, that it is all about a political military nation, which is the opposite of what Christ said. He said, even to the Samaritan women at the well, for those who know what scriptures say, he said, the time is gone, the time is over, where people worship God in the city of Jerusalem. He said, now the true worshippers will worship God in spirit, because God is spirit, and that's the worship that he longs for. And then the Apostle Paul explained to the Galatians, he said, guys, understand this. You guys are not children from the earthly Jerusalem. You are not children from something worldly. You are children, you come forth from the heavenly Jerusalem. The heavenly Jerusalem is your mother. It's a heavenly kingdom, Jesus Christ said. In the Old Covenant, there was a physical Israel, a physical Jerusalem, a stone temple, but in 70 AD, that was all destroyed. That was judged by the Almighty God. And then in the New Testament, it says that we are now the temple of the living God. He dwells in us. We are his dwelling place, and his spirit builds us as homes where God can dwell. And through us, he brings healing and deliverance to the world. So we have two completely opposite mindsets. In the time of Jesus, the Jews wanted a political and military kingdom. That's why the apostles joined Christ. That's why Jude, who betrayed Christ, followed him. He expected Christ to restore Israel in a military, political way. And when Jesus didn't do that, and when it was clear that he was going to be killed by the Jews, then Jude betrayed him. He thought, this guy is not going to restore a political, military Israel. He's in no way anything that I thought he would be. He's not going to be our world leader who will bring peace over all of humanity from Israel. So Jude betrayed him, and that caused Christ to be murdered. The apostles also left Christ. They were disillusioned. But when the Spirit of God came on Pentecost, all the Christians suddenly began to understand, starting with the apostles, what Christ had been explaining to them. This is not about a political, military land. This is about a heavenly land. This is about the reign of the Most High God in your heart, where you are transformed on the inside, where heaven comes to dwell in your heart, and you become a completely different person, not through a religion, not through something political or social or military or whatever, but by becoming a child. Christ said, if you become like a little child, you can enter into the kingdom of heaven. So the promises that God had made to Abraham and his descendants were fulfilled in Christ. God never spoke about a stretch of desert that would be his ultimate fulfillment. He had something far more beautiful, far more glorious. He had a heavenly kingdom, a heavenly nation, people all around the world who love God. And here we come to an incredible misunderstanding concerning what it means to be a Jew or an Israelite or a descendant of Abraham. Who was Abraham? What is a real Jew? Listen carefully. Even if you're not a Christian, even if you're not religious in any way, this is extremely interesting and fascinating, and it explains the core of what's going on in Israel and the agenda for world domination. So this relates to all of us, no matter our background and beliefs. So please keep watching, because a lot more will be revealed. Abraham was somebody who was faithful to the creator of life. He did not join into the demon worship and the human sacrifice and all the sorcery and magic of his surroundings. He remained faithful to the creator of all life. That's why God revealed himself to Abraham and said, Abraham, you will be the father of all the people throughout all of history who will be just like you. They will walk in your footsteps in a way that they will also love me despite evil surroundings in their culture. They will be faithful to me despite perversion and wickedness in their nation. He said, a great people will come forth from you, and they will come from every tribe, every tongue, every nation. And this will be called Israel. Israel means Prince of God, or in other words, royal child of the creator of heaven and earth. So Israel was never meant to be a political nation. It was that for a short period to show that that doesn't work out, because the people of Israel who came after Abraham, they left the creator. They turned back to darkness, and they went back to worshiping demons and human sacrifice. You can read that all throughout the scriptures. And God kept sending his prophets to call them back to him, but they always rejected and even murdered them. So God showed a political nation is not my idea. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about physical seed. I'm talking about spiritual seed. I'm talking about people who are circumcised in their heart, who walk with me in the midst of darkness, who are faithful to me, surrounded by wickedness, who walk in faith, even though their eyes can't see and their mind can't understand. They keep trusting me. That is what it means to be the seed of Abraham. We are like him. We walk like him. We live like him. We walk in his footsteps. And that's why the prophet Isaiah and the apostle Paul clearly said that only a very small portion of ancient Israel was truly Israel. Only those who were truly faithful to God. The vast majority of ancient Israel turned their back to God and were just as wicked and satanic as the other nations who practiced human sacrifice and demon worship and all kinds of magic and sorcery. So Abraham is the father of faith. His seed is not genetic. His seed is spiritual. That's why Christ said the people who listen to the Creator, who listen to God, and who do what he says, they are the children of God. They are my brothers and sisters. And that's why the Apostle John said it's impossible to become a child of God by ways of genetics or lineage or by the will of a man. You become a child of God by accepting Christ whom he sent, by believing what God says. Well, in the time of Christ, you had Jews who accepted Christ and you had Jews who rejected him. The Jews who rejected Christ were the ones who wanted a military political kingdom. They wanted to defeat the Romans and establish a military nation that would rule the whole world. They interpreted the scriptures in a very earthly way, why Christ said it's only by the Spirit of God that you can worship God and that you can understand it. And that's why the Apostle Paul also said, we have the mind of Christ. We have the mind of the Spirit who reveals the mysteries of God. And the mystery of God was that the promises that he had been making were fulfilled in Christ. And that's also why it says that all the promises of God are yes and amen in Christ, not in a political military nation. So this is in a nutshell what the Bible really says. This is also the core, the heart of the Christian faith. God dwells in the heart of man. He doesn't dwell in a temple built by man. He dwells in the heart of man, which is built by the Spirit of God. Our life, our mind, our thoughts, our actions, our entire existence becomes a home for the Creator to express his love and to show his love to the rest of humanity. And there is no racism in God. He is not a respecter of persons. The mindset that being a Jew means that you have some kind of a genetic connection to Abraham, that makes you a racist, because people who think that way say the Jews are better than the rest of humanity. They have the right to slaughter and murder and torture and imprison and rob everybody else because they are the chosen people. And that is exactly how the Pharisees were thinking. In scripture we can read that they talked about other nations as being dogs. They said those people are animals. And now with the attack of Hamas on Israel, which is not really Hamas, you know, Hamas is financed by the same people who finance Israel, but the Israeli defense minister literally said those Palestinians, they are human animals. So that is the racist mentality of these people who think that being a Jew means that you are better than other people.
אנחנו מטילים מצור מוחלט על העיר עזה. אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם ואנחנו נוהגים בהתאם.
There is a vast contrast between what Christ and the scriptures say and between what was introduced into Christianity. Basically, the doctrine of Zionism goes back to the time of the ancient Israelites, who wanted a political military Israel that would rule over the world. That's basically that literal interpretation. And they are the ones who murdered Christ. They are the ones who killed all the Christians. They are the ones who slaughtered the apostles, because they did not want the kingdom of heaven in the heart of man. They wanted the political military fulfillment of the promises of God. So they rejected Christ. They rejected what the apostles preached. They rejected everything that the scriptures truly said. So this is where we come at the core of the issue. And I hope that you are still with me. I've been real fast explaining this as concise as I can, but I invite all the Christians who are watching this video to study the scriptures sincerely. Read the letter of Paul to the Galatians. Read what Christ in the gospel said about the kingdom. He never spoke about a political military reign. He rejected that fiercely. Okay? And Jude betrayed him for that. the Christian church has been severely subverted. Instead of being faithful to what Jesus Christ said, whom they claim to believe, follow, and worship, they actually completely diverted from everything Christ has said, and they went back to what the Pharisees said. We need a military, political Israel. When we look at the modern day state of Israel, it becomes crystal clear that it has nothing whatsoever in common with the Israel that God is talking about in Scripture. In Scripture, God says that Israel, prince of God, royal children of God, is his family. It's his people, those who love him, those who worship him, those who are faithful to him. It is his kiddos, his beloved ones, the apple of his eye, the people that truly belong to God. When you look at the current state of Israel, it is one of the most atheist states in the whole world. The vast majority of Israel fiercely rejects the existence of God. They say that there is no God. Many of them are Freemasons. Israel, in its short existence, has become one of the capitals of sexual perversion worldwide, with the biggest pride parade in the Middle East. It is a safe haven for pedophiles. People who are wanted by the law for child abuse can flee to Israel and they will not be prosecuted there. So this is very powerful evidence that Israel has nothing to do with the true Israel that God was talking about, which is literally the exact opposite of this. God says, love your enemies. We are all brothers. He calls people to live in peace with one another. Israel is the exact opposite of this. It kills millions of people. It murders them. It tortures children in prison. This is unfathomable. There is no connection between this political, military, violent state, which was financed by Satanists, and which is a capital in the world of sexual perversion and one of the most atheist nations in the world, and what God says that Israel is. It is literally the exact opposite. Let me show you something. This is a legit $1 note. How do you know that it's real? Well, because it says so here, right? $1. So you can rest assured that this is a genuine $1 note. That's exactly what's going on with Israel. It's not because somebody assumes an identity or uses a certain name that they are the real thing. This is an authentic $1 note. It doesn't only say $1, but it has all the characteristics. When we look at Israel, we need to look at the characteristics, not just be fooled by the name Israel. Anyone can say, I'm an Israelite, I'm a Jew, or whatever. We have to look at what are the hallmarks of the true Israel according to the Torah, according to the Old Testament and the scriptures. And then we have to look if we can see those characteristics. That's how we determine if something is real. You can't just go around and say, look, this is real because it says so. Using the Star of David and using the name Israel doesn't make you Israel. This is something we really have to understand. And then another key insight I need to share with you is that this is being presented to humanity as an everlasting conflict between one people group and another, Israeli and Palestinians. But that's not what's really going on. As we saw, the entities who are behind both Israel and Hamas, they are the ones who have caused this conflict. They are the ones who initiate this war. Essentially, this is a war between the deep state and all of humanity. And both the Israeli and Palestinian people are victim of this. We are all being fooled by a very powerful and very cunning group of people who operate behind the scenes and who pull on the strings. So this is the mystery of Israel that has been solved. It has nothing to do with what the ancient scriptures say about what Israel is. It is diametrically the opposite of that. It was founded and financed by blatant Satanists who have an agenda for world domination and who want to have the support of the billions of Christians from around the world so that they can succeed in their agenda. I understand that it's extremely shocking if you hear this for the first time, but all this information can be researched. You can find more and more evidence for this when you do your due diligence. I want to invite you to become part of building a better world, where we don't support entities that create war and murder hundreds of thousands and even millions of people. We are not here to make this world a place of horror and terror and fear and destruction. We are here to bring love, justice, and goodness amongst all of humanity. This is our purpose. That's why this film was made, to expose an extremely nefarious agenda. Their plan is to incite world war, so that they can use that as an excuse for establishing a one world government, which would then supposedly bring peace. We have the choice to fall into this trap or to open our eyes and have the courage to stand up for what is right and prevent their agenda. I invite you to go to the website stopworldcontrol.com and sign up for our emails. You will learn a lot about the official agenda for world domination and what you can do to be part of preventing this plan. The future is bright and beautiful if we rise up and if we do what it takes to make this world a place of goodness, a place of hope, a place of happiness.
There we go. Thank you so much for watching that with me. And it was my second time viewing it after seeing it the first time quite recently. As I said, this video was posted in February 2023. That date I'm missing. Around that time. When you go to the site, you can see that video and other information for their goal to help everyone worldwide to be up to date with information so we can be better well educated on what's going on rather than relying on corporate sold out news entertainment media that people assume is news, assume is real, assume is the full picture when it is not. And when you're ahead of the game, we can see what's going on to stop it. There's a reason why at the Palestinian protests, the pro-Palestine protests, the protests against this genocide, the protests to free Palestinian people so they could live as equal human beings amongst everybody where they live at no expense of anyone else's life, just to be free. Freedom is everyone's human right. So a lot of people who do their due diligence and know what's going on show up to these protests and or support it. So many people are honking horns and celebrating along the side, like this last weekend when the protest spilt into the 101 freeway by some people courageous enough to do that. I was on the side, and while I was walking past, one of the cars had their windows rolled down, and someone asked me, "Hey, what is all this for? Is this for the ceasefire?" I was like, "Yes, this is for the ceasefire and the free Palestine." And the people in the car said, "Hell yeah." And they started honking their horns. Beep, 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 beep. Yeah. So that was beautiful. And there's so much beauty in standing up for what's right. And a lot of these kids, and I say kids as in the new generation, because they are so strong, they are so smart, they are so passionate. The understanding of the world and peace and love and calling BS out that a lot of older generation people get used to, because change is difficult the older you get, because it takes effort to adapt. And that effort to adapt is actually healthy for your cognitive abilities and your nervous system, which is why a lot of older people the older people who don't apply themselves and learn what's going on in the world, because there's so much we're uncovering about each other, about science, about nature, about everything that you could think of in existence. Even when it comes down to art and music, there's so much we're discovering, and that gets limited when we build blockades, either mentally or physically, between each other. Sure, there's areas where you have to respect the law, and of course, and this has nothing to do with breaking the law. In fact, I see a lot of politicians in power are using and manipulating the law in order to break the law and make it look like it's lawful in order to obtain land and power. And it's disgusting. And that's why it's not easy to access the truth, but it's not difficult to access the truth either. Now, what's beautiful about this video is that it encompassed a lot of things that I have been telling you all about in parts with my previous episodes and my other show, Voices for Hazza, on my channel. And then on top of that, all the times I've showed up on other people's streams and things I've brought up that I feel is important. And there are things that I believe are not important or wrong, because like I said, some people use a little bit of information or a little bit of propaganda or a little bit of a conspiracy theory to use to have prejudice on someone or attack them or fuel hatred in areas where it shouldn't be or exist at all. So I hope that watching this video, you all got a chance to and look at it and understand what's really going on and has been going on. Like I said earlier on, a lot of truths may be hard to accept, and why some people might be quick to dismiss it, because it does challenge to change your way of thinking and observation of the world. Or you might be like me and go, oh, that's why that happened. Oh my gosh, that makes sense. And oh my gosh, that's horrible. Why is that going on? Now I see why it's going on, but it's wrong that it's going on and it must stop. And that knowledge and awareness is so important. And I think some people who are scared of things would also put things under conspiracy theory to say that you don't have to pay attention to it, or you're more dismissive of it, or you're in denial. And it's just a lot. And I commend you for watching this video, and I encourage you to do your research, read on everything. Like I said, everything this gentleman went over in this video that we watched together right now has been out in the open. That's what makes it not a conspiracy theory. There's conspiracy theories about each thing that was in this video, but everything that's been presented in the video that we watched and things that I've been sharing with you is out in the open. So it's not a conspiracy theory or a secret when it's out there. But why is it so hard to see? Because there's so much distractions that consumerism and materialism uses around us. And also there's a lot of manipulation. As we mentioned, there's a lot that the devil is the Lord of lies. And what greater lie is it than to pose as the truth or as the children of God? And that's what we're seeing. And we do have some bonus clips to share with y'all to enhance this experience and this revelation and this information that we've been seeing. So now what was mentioned was the Rothschilds and the satanic Satanists who are blatantly Satanists who funded the state of Israel, because there was no Independence Day of Israel. It was just forced on with that first Nakba 1948, where they just slaughtered a bunch of Palestinians, put a flag in the ground, and started expanding with years and years of bloodshed and stealing, rape, slaughter, killing children. Now, as satanic people go, to their way is human sacrifice and the harming and killing of children is what they're about. So if they're purifying Gaza, they're doing it in a satanic way because it's like 50% children, and to massively sacrifice children for 9 months on our US tax dollars, which President Biden has said he's a Zionist, so he's flat out a Satanist right there. He's admitted it multiple times on TV. So there you go. And the government goes to make laws saying that any criticism on the state of Israel and Zionism, which is Satanism, is illegal. Tells you who's running behind the scenes of our country. So Reese Report, this is a little clip from Reese Report that I acquired for y'all. So we'll check it out and go from there.
Adolf Hitler's father was Alois Schicklgruber, the bastard child of Maria Schicklgruber, who changed his name to Hitler to hide the fact that he was an illegitimate child. Many historians have claimed that Maria was impregnated by Baron Rothschild when she worked for him. The Rothschilds have been known to breed thousands of illegitimate children under different names to serve the family's agenda. And their name isn't really Rothschild. In the late 18th century, Mayor Amschel Bauer was the private banker for the black nobility through the House of Hesse and changed the family name just before expanding the family business. Rothschild means red shield, which was their company logo, a six-pointed star, which has become known as the Star of David. This was not a Jewish symbol. It was introduced by the Rothschilds, who later funded the Zionists. And in 1948, Rothschild influence compelled the State of Israel to adopt the hexagram as their national symbol. In the late 1800s, Cecil Rhodes set up a secret society to preserve the expansion of the British Empire. Known as the Milner Group, their main focus from 1920 to 1938 was to maintain the balance of power in Europe by building up Germany and pitting them against France and Russia. They discussed creating a situation that would compel Germany to start a Second World War. During this time, the reparations from the Treaty of Versailles led to hyperinflation in Germany. And in 1930, as the international banking system was collapsing, the Young Plan was enacted, which required Germany to pay about 2 billion Reichsmarks annually, payable through 1988. This scheme was funded by J.P. Morgan, led by the founder of RCA, and directed by members of the Milner Group. It broke the German economy. In 1933, Hitler secured funding from the Bank of England, which was run by the Rothschild banking dynasty. This deal was brokered by John Foster Dulles and Allen Dulles, who later headed the CIA. With initial funding from the Rothschild Bank of England, Germany invaded Poland and received additional funding from the Bush family's Brown Brothers Harriman. The Germans were fueled by Standard Oil and supported by Ford, General Electric, DuPont, and IBM, all of which profited greatly from the war. World War II accomplished the stated goals of the Milner Group. It made the banks and their cronies even richer, and it directly led to the creation of the United Nations and Israel. Theodor Herzl, the founder of the Zionist movement, was not a religious Jew. Officially, he was an atheist, but more likely, he was an occultist agent of the Rothschilds. He was no fan of the Jews. In his own words, he sympathized with anti-Jewish sentiment. His original plan was to have them all convert to Catholicism, and when that failed, he decided they should be expelled from Europe. In 1933, the Havara Agreement, or Transfer Agreement, was made between Nazi Germany and the Zionists, wherein German Jews would be sent to Palestine. Non-Zionist Jews did not want to leave, and so the Nazis encouraged them through persecution. In 1917, the British government announced its support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, known as the Balfour Declaration, and seized control of the land. After the Second World War, with Holocaust propaganda used as the catalyst, this land was gifted to the Zionists from the British, and the State of Israel was officially created. Between 1947 and 1949, the Zionists murdered the locals, destroyed hundreds of villages, and expelled more than 700,000 Palestinians. a savage invasion celebrated every May 15th, known as Nakba Day. Before Zionism created the State of Israel, Jews did not have a common language or nationality, and they were not considered to be a race. The historical record tells us that the Khazars were known for starting wars through deception, and about 700 years ago, they all converted to Judaism. These are the Ashkenazi Jews, who later became Zionists and persecuted the Sephardic Jews of Palestine. They do not follow the teachings of the Torah. They follow the Talmud, ancient teachings that can be described as anti-Christian or satanic. The motto of Israeli Mossad, by way of deception, thou shalt do war, really sums up the nature of Zionism, which includes evangelical Christians and certain sects of Islam. With 80% of the world being religious, religion is the easiest way to ignite a war, which is what the central banks always want. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
So yeah, more to add to this episode today. And a lot of this stuff is I've been covering in parts and on my show, and I will continue to cover this stuff. My future episodes, I will I don't know about doing my variety hours, which is a bunch of stuff. I think each episode will focus on one thing going forward now. But back to the subject. This dark satanic way to manipulate religion is the fastest way to get in people's minds and hearts to divert them off course. Now, I don't think that that has any control of someone who sincerely reads. I'll say that again. Anyone who sincerely reads. I don't think anyone could be controlled. Okay, when people go to a religious service and they're most likely listening to what's being told to them. How many people are taking time, Bible study or what have you, to really read the scriptures of what's being studied and apply them? And really know the history of when certain things were changed, like when Prophet Muhammad was prophesied to be coming. There's a section in the Bible that spoke of Muhammad coming, but then that was taken out. Why? The Pope in the time of Leonardo da Vinci giving the order that Jesus Christ would be depicted as a Caucasian male and not an Arab male. Why was that there? The many meetings they have in different areas in Europe over time, having great discussions and passing laws to change things, change scriptures. Now, I'm not putting down the Bible. I love the Bible. It's helped me so much in life. And but I do know that there's things have changed, because when I was a kid, I had an older Bible. And the only thing I understood was the 10 Commandments at that time. And when I got a newer Bible later on in life, when I started really practicing and studying and learning Christianity, I noticed some things in that area, in that section, were different from what I grew up on. So, and another thing was weird when I was a Christian was the church. Some churches I would go to, and some groups of churchgoers would say something different from what I read, from what Jesus told us to do, as opposed of how to look at other people and what certain scriptures meant and such. So I believe if you really read, rather than being accepting what's being told to you in like some kind of a political atmosphere, I think you have the power and the ability to read through the BS, to see the truth, There's a lot of good in religion. And I think some people take parts of it and some things literal to extremes. And I believe that's taking God's name in vain. When you take something from God as a justification to do an action that goes against God, then you're really taking God's name in vain and also bearing false witness in a ways. And then you do things that actually entertain the devil with stealing, lying, manipulation, slander, killing, slaughtering people, killing children. Come on now. So I believe you all should, especially in these days now when we have so much social media, so much information, we have TikTok and shorts and stories and reels, things that are so brief that can be very fruitful. But for our dopamine levels to enhance, we need to take time to read, to study, and for us to really learn stuff. If there's something you pick up from a cool reel that's actually educational and fruitful in knowledge and something that's good, you should take that as a note to go, okay, I'm going to study more of this, learn and apply in life or understand things. If you use that as your sole source, I don't think that's enough. But we do use this technology to reach out and speak to one another. And it's also why some of my shows are so long, because I have a lot to say in the tank. And I'm really just trying to help, because like there's a lot of commercialism and materialism, the thing is a lot of that stuff does entertain dark and evil ways as far as corruption and just letting money and power guide your ways. Again, we're getting closer to things that entertain the devil. That's why I can see and have seen and have been turned off by the entertainment industry having a lot of evil ways to do stuff. And I'm happy I didn't get far as I could when I was trying to work my way up in the ladder, because all I want to do is make my own films and for people to see it. But thanks to services like YouTube, I can make a video and share it for you. I'm spending 6 years to make an amazing web series / film. It's a film to me, but it's a web series. And I'm doing it through hard work and passion and all on my own. I didn't have to sell my soul or do anything wrong or stab someone in the back to go forward. Someone in the industry, a friend at the time that I respected, told me that the only way I could get forward in life with all the talent and good I have is I have to stab someone in the back. I was like, oh, brother, I can't do that. Is there another way to do that? Because I can't do it. There has to be another way. Like, how did George Lucas get forward? How did all these other wonderful directors and writers and talents get forward? Or did they have to do something bad to get forward? Or was it really just a struggle because they were grassroots? I think sometimes that's maybe why certain artists do get hated, because they got successful without selling out. Because I see other directors like, let's say like James Gunn, for example. Some of his films have been technical flops, yet he gets more money. Is it because the content entertains satanic values of abuse to children and human degrading and dehumanizing human beings, just slapstick comedy, so people get more desensitized and enjoy it? Or is it really brilliant? But either way, he's entertaining some crowd and is able to fail up when other people who are very successful telling stories like Man of Steel that mentions that genocide is wrong, and then he has a hard time but has the success and the numbers to prove that his work is good, but yet he has a hard time. What is going on here? There's this issue, there's this little club that if you're not a part of, it's going to be hard for you, or you're going to be blacklisted. I'm blacklisted, and I've been blacklisted, and standing up for human rights in Palestine has definitely made me even more blacklisted. I've been shadow banned. So there you have it, but that's not going to stop me. You can't stop me from speaking the truth and my truth and doing my art. I'm just going to do it the right, healthy way, because I believe in humanity. I believe in God. Allah's by my side, and I'm worshiping God and doing the best I can for myself and humanity and all my brothers and sisters around me, because humanity is what we should be taking care of. And that is how we overcome evil. And we need to talk to each other, work with each other. But Hollywood is There's a lot of powerful factions in Hollywood, and also they do a lot of stuff to distract you anyways. But the problem I have with Hollywood is also the abuse to children. There are known pedophiles who get protected, like the child sexual allegations towards Bryan Singer. They got really hushed out really quiet, and then he's still getting big, high budgeted works to do, but he's also out of the public eye. Are they protecting him? Is he still doing this? How many has he done? And it's horrible. Here's a clip for y'all.
I can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry.
The casting couch even applies to children.
Oh yeah, not in the same way. It's all done under the radar.
Nobody talks about pedophilia.
It's the big secret.
And it's widespread?
Oh yeah, I was surrounded by them when I was 14 years old. Surrounded. It wasn't until I was old enough to realize what they were and what they wanted and what they were about and the types of people that were surrounding me until I went, oh my God, they were everywhere like vultures.
You believe that children are being abused by pedophiles in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
So why are you sitting down talking to me? Why aren't you sitting down with the police right now?
I've told the police. I gave them the names. But they were scanning Michael Jackson.
Who you said, by the way, did not abuse you.
Who Michael was innocent. And they said, well, maybe you just don't understand your friend. And I said, no, I know the difference between pedophiles and somebody who's not a pedophile because I've been molested. Here's the names. Go investigate.
So they'll spend a lot of their time slandering the innocent, and they'll spend a lot of their time not taking out the wrong people. Who's they? The powers that be. I'm not lazily throwing they around. So we've had and seen reports and factual proof that the IOF has trained a lot of our police forces. Not all of them. I've come across cops who really care about the community and do good. And I love those police officers. We need good cops. We need cops that put the civilians first, not the badge first or their effed up orders. Because we saw a lot of effed up cops stand by while a mob of Zionists attacked students. Then when that news got out that there's violence at the protests, then the cops went in and did more violence. And they're still doing it now. This weekend, I saw some more. No, a few days ago. Sorry. Oh, my gosh. And they're getting orders and attacking people who are protesting peace, protesting against war, speaking out for peace. And that's offensive. Why? Because that threatens the government that's not doing peace, the government that's investing in war to make profit and to expand land to make more profit and sell to us and take from us, really. And it is a problem. So when we're for free Palestine, I'm believing with all my heart and soul and my knowledge of what's going on that if we can free Palestine, we can break this structure and we could actually, this toxic structure and system that's going on at the expense of innocent men, women, and children, we have the ability to free America from the control of another country that's funded and built on dark values, values that aren't even for God that they claim that they are. This is a satanic nation that America needs to break free from. But we can't do it when our leaders are taking a lot of blood money, millions of dollars. You had Nikki Haley signing her name on an illegal weapon to be dropped on civilians. And she's like, yay. These are dark times, but the more we embrace the light, maybe we could change it. I believe we can. So the last video I'm going to give you today is from J Stoker. I've shared some of his stuff on my streams, and I've given you links to his channel and content. He has his own podcast. Highly recommend you check out what he's saying and going through. He made this speech a few days ago, and we're going to play it here, and then we'll bid adieu.
Hello, my name is J Stoker, and I'm a former United States Army Ranger. I have a background in special operations and military intelligence, and I conducted 4 combat deployments to Afghanistan during the global war on terror. I now do geopolitical analysis and commentary, and I've risen to a modest prominence in that arena by the simple virtue of being accurate. I also do a bit Bit of human rights activism, but don't worry, I won't bore you with that. I'm not interested in wasting my time or your time by trying to get you to care about the 15,000 children that Israel has quite obviously and intentionally targeted with kinetic strikes. There are actually more children slaughtered with our tax dollars than that based off crude death rates from comparable conflicts.
Sir, if I could just pause his time. Folks, we need everybody to have order in the chambers. So I'm going, this is only our first speaker and we're already doing this. Let us be quiet. Hang on one second. Folks, if you're talking and you're not standing at the podium, it's not what you ought to be doing. My goodness. Folks, every week it feels like we have to come up with a new rule, so be cool. Folks, I'm asking you to quit talking. Sir, I apologize that I had to interrupt you, but we need to get control of this. Your time, it didn't cost you any time, so please continue.
There are actually more children slaughtered with our tax dollars than that based off crude death rates from comparable conflicts. But if that doesn't bother you yet, probably never will. So I'm just here to state that you're backing a losing horse that is now the greatest strategic liability to United States global interests. The IDF has been operationally defeated in both Gaza and the Northern Front in southern Lebanon. I don't have enough time to get into that obvious military reality. Just be satisfied that former Deputy Director of the Mossad, Ram Ben Barak, said on May 18th, and I quote, "The war in Gaza is aimless. We are clearly losing it. We are forced to return to fighting in the same areas, losing more soldiers, losing on the international stage, damaging relations with the United States, and causing the economy to collapse. Show me one thing we have succeeded in," unquote. They've succeeded in nothing beyond showing the world their cruelty and thereby making the Palestinian liberation cause the most pressing issue on the international stage. Israel will continue to be isolated and will become a pariah state. The question is, when will you do what you can to pressure the Biden administration to stop this madness for our own selfish interests? Because of this catastrophe and absolute failure in leadership from politicians on both sides of the aisle, the world is turning against us. Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, our traditional ally in the region, is for the first time in 20 years traveling to Iran to begin repairing relations with that regime. Non-Western countries are now looking to China with its massive Belt and Road Initiative, and Russia, recently vindicated by its inevitable victory in Ukraine, for alliances and leadership. While our hypocrisy about Western values, human rights, and the rule of law is plain for all to see, there will be irreparable consequences for American interests because of this. The International Criminal Court, which was both founded and funded by the U.S. and Britain and is meant to project Western hegemony across the globe, has now turned on an ally it was designed to protect in order to maintain its own judicial legitimacy. And we are now trying to discredit the ICC when the ICC was vital for declaring Putin a war criminal and thereby giving casus belli for us expanding the war in Ukraine. Our global institutions are crumbling, and because of it, we're going to lose out to China. We're going to lose out to Russia and BRICS. And for what? If you care about that, not the children, not the civilians, you should probably do something about it. Israel has already been strategically defeated. Why are we going down with it? I'll be back after summer recess to say, I told you so. Stop the killing and the madness. Ceasefire now. It's the only way forward for us.
There you have it. You get educated on what's going on and you believe what's right. Stand up for what's right. We are American people. We have the freedom of speech for the time being. We can make a difference, and we're doing everything we can to. And like I said before, you got to do your due diligence and know what's really going on, and you can help. You can speak up, or at least get out of the way of the truth and goodness from happening. Okay? Don't be part of the madness, please. And I sincerely believe, if you believe in God, the one true loving God, or a loving God, not everyone believes what I believe in. Not everyone believes that in God, but believe in love. Put your trust in humanity to take care of humanity, the goodness in humanity. We're all we have. We're all we got. And we got to cherish that. There's no, you can't force something to be that costs innocent lives. And you can't dehumanize other human beings so their lives mean nothing. So you're okay with slaughtering and sacrificing them for some ideal and comfort zone built around ignorance and prejudice. You just can't do that. So with that being said, and with this video we just saw, like I've been saying, like the gentleman in the video has been saying or said, is do your due diligence and let's talk to each other. Really get your information from not commercial news that makes money off of commercial revenue. They are the least reliable. They will only tell the truth when they have no choice to do anything but the truth, and that is rare. So much love to all of you. God bless. Like and subscribe to my channel so you can see more of this. I'm not stopping, and I will be talking about other stuff as well, as I usually do, but some things are so important that I got to do whatever I can to stop innocent people from being killed. So, like I said, I'll see you next time. Much love. God bless, and I'll see you later.